All right, I'm here. Thank you all for waiting. It's me, Ari Dossett, call me Rashid, or if you're Italian, call me Liano. My second name perfectly fine. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, become a member channel. You can check my novels on Amazon, Barnes Noble, wherever you can purchase them. If you wish to book a session with me, a one-on-one consultation, please check the fees and instructions in the description box below. And also, please donate the links below. Thank you much for your support. Very much appreciated. And above all, I want you to pay close attention to this live stream. Take notes, pray about it afterwards, and where this knowledge applies in your life, apply this knowledge to glorify our Heavenly Father. All right. So, before I continue, how are you all doing today? I always ask that at the beginning of my uh, when I start with my live streams. Maria is here. Maria is doing well. All right, that's good. All right. I have a question for you all. How many of you heard of the term femicide before? Because we're going to discuss about femicide rituals today. Well, actually, for this live stream, I mean. I'm still trying to get my Canon camera to work as a webcam. Let me see if it's working right now. No, it is not. All right. Now, at least I'm going to share some screens with you. So I'm share some information with you. I mean, hold on. Okay, so let me share my screen. One moment. All right. Oh, by the way, I forgot to check whether or not you can hear me clearly on the app. One moment. Let me check that very. Hold on. Let me go to YouTube app to check it out. Hold on. All right. Okay. You should be able to hear me clearly right now, so I can start reading. History of the term femicide. Okay, so let's make this big. Okay, so good. Okay. The first documented use of the term femicide was in a book by John Corey in 1801 called A Satirical View of London at the commencement of the 19th century, when it used to refer to the killing of women. It was not until 1976, however, that the term was reintroduced publicly in the modern age by male violence against women feminist pioneer, expert, and activist, the late Professor Diana E. H. Russell at the International Tribunal of Crimes Against Women. Professor Russell used the term to bring attention to male violence and discrimination against women. Male violence and discrimination against women. Okay. There's an issue with this already, but okay, let's continue. In its early iteration, femicide was defined as the murder of women by men motivated by hatred, contempt, pleasure, or a sense of ownership of women, and the misogynistic killings of women by men. More recently, this definition evolved to the killing of one or more females by one or more males because they are female, as stated by Russell in an introductory speech presented at the United Nations Symposium on Femicide on November 26, 2012. The term, as well as its accepted meaning, often varies, however, depending upon whose perception is being examined or from what country or world region. So, okay. What's getting clear of this is that the term femicide is not even something that's fully agreed upon. That's what this comes out with. The term femicide is not universally agreed upon. It can mean various things to various people, but it all comes down to men killing women because of something against them being women. Now, the issue is there's a bias in this definition. Because the issue is, are all women who are murdered by men? No. There are women murdered by other women. Are there women who have issues with themselves being women, who hate themselves being women? Yes, those exist too. So when that happens, it's not considered femicide. Okay. Well, let's continue. The phenomenon of femicide, including its conceptualization and measurement, continues to be of such of discussion internationally in academia, policy, and grassroots activist arenas, as well as within regional, national, and other legislative institutions and policy bodies. For example, in some world regions, such as Latin America, the term femicidio or femicide in English is preferred to capture the way in which states or governments are often unresponsive to or complicit in the killings of women and girls. In Canada, for example, it is now recognized most recently in the MMIWG increase in term report that the high risk of violence and femicide experienced by indigenous women and girls stems in large part from a failure of police and others in the criminal justice system to adequately respond to or provide for the needs of indigenous women and girls. Okay? Internationally, a broad definition of femicide is often used that includes any killings of women and girls. There's an issue with this. Let's say a woman cheated on her husband, and the husband takes advantage of his own hands and kills the wife. Did he kill her because she's a woman or because he's hatred towards women? No. He killed her out of sexual jealousy. Okay, what if a woman stole drugs? What if a woman is a drug addict and stole drugs from a dealer? Or stole drugs from a cartel, whatever? They later kill her in a horrible way. Was she killed because she was a woman? No, she was killed because she stole drugs. If a woman is part of the military and she's shot and killed by a soldier from another nation that her country's at war with, is she killed because she was a woman? No, she's killed in combat. So any killing of women and girls, lump altogether called it femicide, and everyone has their own definition how they see femicide. Try to get the policy together to combat this. It will not work. You need a clear definition with limits of your definition or to address what you talk about, and then you can do something about it. Here, this often done for ease of international comparisons, but also to acknowledge that in some cases or types of femicide, perpetrators may include female family members or female perpetrators in other contexts. So they admit. So it's not just only men against women, but also women harming women. I'm glad they admit this. It is also the case that many killings of women and girls may be indicative of femicide, but data gaps, including unidentified perpetrators, will preclude the ability to make such determinations. Keeping this in mind, it is recognized that men are the primary perpetrators of femicide and that the large proportion of femicides are committed by current or former male partners or family members, a pattern that exists worldwide, although there may be variations across world regions. The more specific efforts to conceptualize and measure femicide and feminicide are discussed in okay, so this is what's over here. Now let's go further. Here it talks the value and scope of term femicide. I'm not going to read all of this over here. This is an article from 2021. You can look article for yourself to read it further if you want. Let's read the abstract. The term femicide is useful in naming a wide range of sexist killings of women by men, just as genocide and sexual harassment name these respective other crimes and civil violations. Definition and examples of killings that are and are not femicides clarify the scope of the term. A number of variety of misogynist killings of women can be documented. There's evidence that learning of the term of femicide has helped women to see and combat femicides in their spheres. The term femicide has been embraced by the United Nations and by 8 Latin American countries to date. So not all countries recognize it. Okay, this one was 24 an article, and this one United Nations. Every 10 minutes, partners and family members killed a woman intentionally in 2023. Okay, anytime you see such emotional laden statements, watch out, because often there's an agenda or a propaganda behind it. Gender-related killings, femicide, feminicide, are the most brutal and extreme manifestations of violence against women and girls. The latest report from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and UN Women released the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and the start of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, shows that femicide is rising around the world. While there has been a growing awareness and public outcry against these killings, much more needs to be done to prevent violence against women, stop its escalation, provide adequate services for survivors, and punish perpetrators. Femicide or feminicide, as it's referred to in some contexts, is defined as an intentional killing with a gender-related motivation. It is different from homicide, where the motivation may not be gender-related. Okay, so at least United Nations over here, they use a clear definition. Feminicide, femicide is driven by discrimination against women and girls, unequal power relations, gender stereotypes, or harmful social norms. It is the most extreme and brutal manifestation of violence against women and girls, which occurs on a continuum of multiple and related forms of violence at home, in workplaces, schools, or public spaces, including intimate partner violence, sexual harassment, and other forms of sexual violence, harmful practices, and trafficking. Okay. So, yes, but when you look at this article over here, it focuses on end impunity, put people in prison. They come with putting more force on women's rights organizations, and but the thing is, when you look at all these measures overall, do they actually stop this thing that they call femicide? If it worked, femicide would have decreased worldwide by now, not increased. So obviously there's something here that's not working. Okay? Now, the term, as said here, came from John Corey. So, hold on a minute. Let's look up what this John Corey was. Okay? Hold on. So I typed in this. All right. So let me share the screen again. So this is what I found. John Corey, born in Ireland, language English, genre history. John Corey was an Irish topographer and historian writer. Amongst his works, he wrote and published The Life of George Washington, first published in 1800. Corey was self-taught, born in the north of Ireland. As an adult, he went to Dublin, where he was a journalist. About 1792, he moved to London as a professional writer. His history of the 1825 is unknown. Okay, these are some of the works he made, which is quite a lot, really. I'm sure there's some works of him that were lost or that are not mentioned. And here it says that he was. Anyway, the thing about this guy is Floridiu, Floridiu, last look. usually abbreviates FL, denotes a data period during which a person was known to have been alive or active. Okay, so they know exactly when this guy lived, when he was born, and when he died. At least quite quickly we can find it when he was around. And the term femicide came from him, from this work of his over here. A Historical View of London at the commence of the 19th century. Okay, so yes, here it is. But now, I want you to understand the following over here. The term femicide was used by this man over here, allegedly, and later it was reused by a feminist activist. Then became this term, this became a broad term, a United Nations defined as killing women with a gender-related motive. Here's another thing that is a bit wrong, this approach when it comes to this thing called femicide, that people do not address why there is a gender-related motive. Where does gender-related motive come from? Now, I'm going to read the following with you. There's an article. Let's go up. I'm not going to read all of it, y'all. You can read it for yourself. It's art from 2016. And it's written by Robert Clark. It's called Witch Hunt and a Sexual Assault Enterprise on the Modern Campus. Sexual Assault Enterprise. Ooh, okay. Mhm. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read this over here for you. And then I'm going to skip through it. So just hold on. On December 13, 2013, Amherst College expelled a student for violating its disciplinary code concerning sexual misconduct policy, sexual assault. This decision may seem innocuous, but in reality, it effectively proclaimed the student guilty of rape and demolished his professional academic career. Furthermore, while punishing a rapist is commendable, the facts of the situation present an entirely different interpretation. On February 5th, 2012, the accused student, known as John Doe, and accuser, known as Sandra Jones, returned to Jones' room, where Doe's girlfriend also lived. Sometime during the night, Jones engaged in sexual activities with Doe. After 1 year and 9 months, Jones filed an official complaint with Amherst alleging Doe raped her. In merely 6 weeks between the filing of the complaint and disciplinary ruling, the college investigator conducted interviews that constituted all the evidence gathered for the case. The investigator found that Jones changed her story concerning whether she ever consented to the act. One of Jones' witnesses blatantly lied about the encounter. Evidence showed that Jones lied about sending texts to another student concerning the encounter, though the investigator never interviewed the student. Despite no of a witness with evidence that called the accusation into question, the investigator never pursued contacting that witness. Instantly, the investigator made no conclusion as to whether Doe sexually assaulted Jones, but they determined that Doe blacked out from alcohol intoxication and could not recall anything. Despite having no clear findings, Amherst expelled Doe approximately 1 month after the investigators' interviews, placed a disciplinary expulsion notation on his transcript, and forced him to leave campus in 1 hour. The details of the hearing and subsequent punishment present a serious problem with respect to the sexual assault claim procedure. The courts prohibited Doe from obtaining legal representation throughout these proceedings, which would be a constitutional right in criminal proceedings for rape. The college denied Doe the opportunity to cross-examine Jones, removed the right to cross-examination that would be present in a criminal proceeding or for rape. The panel applied a mere preponderance of the evidence burden of proof, despite the fact that Doe's academic professional career depend on the decision, rather than a beyond a reasonable doubt standard that would apply in a criminal proceeding for rape. Despite the fact that the college assembly found Doe guilty of rape, the college applied few of the due process protections are essential for an individual accused of a crime. Perhaps the most crucial piece of evidence for Doe's defense consists of two series of text messages sent by Jones. Doe had to rely on the investigator's findings, however, as he could not present his own evidence or have his own representative or investigator, though he would have a right to counsel and to present his own witness in a criminal proceeding. The investigator never found the crucial evidence, despite knowledge of its possible existence, and thus never submitted it to the disciplinary board. In one series, Jones invited another male student to her room for the night, during which he recalled her being friendly, flirtatious, and spirited. In other series, Jones texted a friend about a sexual encounter with Doe, knowing that she regretted it because Doe's girlfriend was a roommate. When Jones' friend suggested that Jones informed Doe's girlfriend and blamed Joe for the interaction, Jones responded, "It is pretty obvious I wasn't an innocent bystander." Because Jones claimed that she withdrew consent for the act and Doe was blacked out, he could not remember the interaction, the panel found it was at least 50% likely that Doe sexually assaulted Jones. Even when Doe's attorney later presented text messages evidence to Amherst, the college refused to reopen the case. In the current campus sexual assault climate, a blacked out student can be accused of and punished for sexual assault despite his inability to recall the event or possible inability to have consented to the act, and the existence of strong contradicting evidence. The fact that Doe or others are likely innocent is irrelevant to the anti-rape witch hunt, however. This article examines the current state of campus assault adjudications on the Title 9, including the sexual assault enterprise proliferation on college campuses, the bureaucracy created by the federal government, and the rape witch hunts propagated by the new anti-rape movement. Okay, now uh, here let's go here. The new anti-rape movement regularly touts the statistics that 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted at college. Naturally, such horrific statistics would produce strong reactions, such as those seen in modern campus sexual assault procedures. These studies often have multiple problems, however, particularly regarding sample size, sexual assault definitions, and survey participation. Okay, so let's go further. Okay. The participation levels in the survey were also propagandistically low, at only 40%. While these facts may not be devastating to the study, they show that the study does not present the full story. Of course, the full story may be relevant to the new anti-rape movement. Okay? Similar to the sexual assault statistics, one major study propagated the idea that campus sexual assault is perpetrated by serial rapists has significant weaknesses. The study is assumed to be true by the new anti-rape movement. However, even the White House citing the study, LISAC study, comes from a survey that asked 1,882 men on a college campus a series of questions on sexual violence related to childhood, with 5 questions concerning adult sexual violence. The study determined that 6.4% of the men surveyed had committed or attempted rape. LISAC focused on the findings that 60% of the men considered to be rapists had committed multiple rapes. Regarding these men, LISAC determined that they committed a mean of 5.8 rapes each. LISAC depicts the sexual assault climate on college campuses as one where more than 1 in 20 men are rapists, with most of them committing several rapes each. Of course, the study has major problems concerning its useful applications to campus sexual assault. So, so what this article is saying is that this whole anti-rape movement that started on college campuses, so-called to protect women, has not actually assisted in solving any of the problems. Why? Because it's politically motivated and there's a bias in it, and the studies they use for it are not that reliable. Now, and why am I mentioning this? Because one thing to understand over here, if there's a problem ongoing, you first need to identify what the actual problem is in clear terms, then find out how it happens, when it's happening, why it's happening, and then come with a countermeasure how to counter the problem. But you're not going to have a loose definition like here, femicide, which only with the United Nations is more strict the definition, but anyone can hold their own definition if they want, and then come with a, a climate of anti-rape climate focused with men mean as perpetrators, politically motivated by feminists, and expect now the whole problem is going to be solved. It doesn't work that way. Now, I'm going to put in something else over here. Organized, sexualized, and racial violence. Results from 2 representative German samples. I'm not going to read all of it, but let's read this. Organized sexual and ritual abuse, a contentious issue in the 1980s, remains a polarizing topic. Although there is much debate about the existence of this phenomenon, a differentiated perspective is lacking, and no representative study has yet addressed the frequency. This relates to Germany. This from the United States Department of Justice. Ritual sexual abuse. This from 1993. Ritual sexual abuse of children causes severe psychological effects, but the prevalence of such abuse is difficult to estimate because many child victims and survivors do not publicly acknowledge they were abused. Okay? Sadistic ritual abuse, an overview in detection and management. Sadistic ritual abuse, including satanic cult abuse, is emerging as a syndrome amongst people with severe disorders, including multiple personality disorder. Okay. So here's a medical how to say it's a medical paper about it. But anyway, okay, I know what happened over here. I just want to go back to yes. Ritualistic rape in sociological perspective. The current article examines rape as a form of sexual violence, drawing upon comparative research to describe and often proffer a tentative explanation of one specific type, referred to as a ritualistic rape. Hold on, one moment. How can it be? This article 2016 Ophir admits that ritualistic rape is something that happens. But here you have an article from, let's see which year it is. 2024, related to Germany, pretending like such things are, is debate whether they exist or not. United States, 1993, they admit it exists. Okay? So, what I want to point out here is the following. Just because a problem actually happens out there, that does not mean that people will talk about it. Fallen mankind has this deep tendency to want to deny reality when it's happening. So there, for example, there was a time in human history that beating children was not considered any business of the public, just considered a private matter. However, since legislation came out to protect the children more openly, it is called child abuse. So did child abuse exist before it was defined by law as child abuse? Yes, it did exist. But because it wasn't perceived as a problem, people just let it happen. Beating your wife, there was time in history when that was considered a private matter. There's still some place in the world where people look the other way when it happens. But doesn't mean that it's not abuse just because people look the other way or the law doesn't have a punishment for it. It's still abuse. Listen, y'all. What I want to explain in this live stream is as follows. What people call femicide or feminicide in some cases is actually a satanic ritual that's done worldwide on a mass scale, but nobody wants to mention it as a satanic ritual. That's what I'm going to go to with this. Now, we know that Satan himself hates women with a passion. In his mind, the creation of Eve, the first woman, was a mistake with Heavenly Father. He, as a narcissist, wants to be someone managing human males. The other fallen angels also hate women. They blame women for their fall from heaven, all that crap. But anyway, apart from demonic, the actual paranormal side, you also have a lot of human beings that have issues against women. Some have issues against women because they have traumas caused by their mothers that are not processed, so they have what they call mommy issues. Then there are also people who simply have an issue against women because they can't stand their own human vulnerability. And because women by nature embody this vulnerability, a lot of people have issues against women. Then there are also men who really, really don't want anything to do with women because they don't want to deal with the needs of women. So, hold on. I'm in a live stream right now. I'm going to call you back later. Someone called me when I'm doing a live stream. I told people, before you call me, check whether or not I'm live, but people tend to forget about it. Okay? Now, so yes, misogyny does exist. And I have to say, man, the world system we operate in, dating all the way back from ancient times, is misogynistic in nature. Yes, yet female deities in many religions, and also yet women in ancient times with high positions. But does that mean now that it was all female friendly? No, it wasn't. Now, we're not going to exaggerate as if throughout human history, men unconditionally, by default, harmed all the women in their lives, including mothers, grandmothers, siblings, nieces, cousins, daughters. No, we're not going to do that. That doesn't even add up. Men throughout history often were motivated to make life better for the women around them, or to work to provide for the daughters, or to give a better life to their wife or whatever. So women, the victims, men, perpetrators, that binary does not add up. Because also women harming women. Now, I'm going to shift to my whiteboard right now, but I'll do it a bit differently because for some reason, let me try it one more time to see if my camera works right now. Hold on. No, it doesn't work like that, so I'm going to shift towards my tablet. And I'm going to hold my tablet in my hand while I'm drawing on the whiteboard. And we're going to do it like that. So let me shift. I'm going to shift towards my tablet. Give me 1 minute, please. I'll be right back. All right. Can you all hear me? Let me know in the live chat, please. I want to be sure if you can hear me all. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you all hear me? I want to make sure that the mic is working well on the tablet. Now, it's a bit close, though. Let me see if I can change the camera a little bit. All right. Okay, that's how it goes. Okay, hold on 1 minute. 1 minute, please. I'm looking for a way to position the tablet so you can see me using the whiteboard. So 1 moment, please. Please be patient with me. I am trying to solve this at the spot. So I need to use my whiteboard to explain how this thing called femicide is actually a satanic ritual, why they're doing it, and why the masses are not stopping it. Okay. Okay, so let me see if this camera works well. Oh, no. I need to turn around the camera a little bit more. 1 moment, guys. But anyway, meanwhile, if you have any questions about the topic, let me know in the live chat. Well, hold on. Let me know, please. Okay. That's good. Cameras, tablets being charged. Let me see if this. Okay, that's excellent. You should be able to see the whiteboard clearly now. So that means I can draw on it. Let me turn this off. All right. By the way, should be able to hear me clearly. So let's go over here. Okay, let's do this again. I'm writing big for you to see it. Hold on. I'm explaining this. It is the ether. Over here. This ether above. This also known as the Earth's immune. Hold on. Immune system. All right. Okay. So the Earth is an electromagnetic field. Okay? You can read Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 to explain this. In Earth, you also have the ether above. The ether is what we can call the Earth's immune system. Okay? And the Earth is therefore a living intelligence. Now, this does not mean that the Earth is a living being. Like pagans claim the Earth is our mother, the Earth is a woman, or whatever. No, the Earth is not a living being with feelings or with a mind and intellect, all of that. No, the Earth is a living intelligence in the sense that, understand this, we have AI today. AI is artificial intelligence built by human beings. And AI can do a lot. But here's the thing, AI is just artificial. Nature, the Earth itself has its own living intelligence built by the Heavenly Father. Okay? So the Earth itself is an AI. Because the Earth is electromagnetic fields. And in the Earth, you have content, which is the land, the seas, oceans, the clouds, the atmosphere. Those are all content in the Earth. All right? And so the Earth is an electromagnetic field, and the Earth carries a weight. Okay, it carries a weight. No. Let me use, the Earth has a natural weight. this weight is carried by the electromagnetic field. And electromagnetic field, in turn, is carried by the mind of the Heavenly Father. All right? So with the natural weight, it means the weight of every content on the earth. So mass or matter, whether it's in form of water or dust, that is contained, but also our spirit tensions. Because a human being, oh Lord, again, I don't focus that right now. A human being is a multidimensional being. The physical body is your physical extension, but you are a spirit being first. So you are a union of heaven and earth. You are a spirit being with a physical extension. So you also have an energy field around you, and you give off radiation into the earth. Spirit radiation. And this radiation also turns into echoes. Spirit echo. So it works like this. Your mind, your state of mind causes feelings. The feelings transforms into emotions, and all of that affects your physical body, and all of that also gives off a radiation or echo in the earth. Okay, so the earth's natural weight is not only the actual ground and seas that we operate on, or the clouds we operate on. There is also the emotional and mental states of human beings, because we are the only species in the earth that can affect the electromagnetic field of the earth. Animals can do it, because animals are just living physical decorations. We can use them for decorations, we can use them for food or for transportation, whatever, or we just admire animals and look after them, but they're not spirit creatures. Animals are not spirit creatures at all. The consciousness that is the animal will dissolve once the body expires, because that consciousness is just is an energy generation that's only there, and then it dissolves. Thing is, your body contains you. Okay? But the thing is, you are independent of your physical body, but you need your physical body to operate. So when your physical body expires, you can't be active anymore. Christ has resurrected you in a new body, and meanwhile, you are in God's archive, you're not active till Christ comes back. Okay? Now, but look at this. So the Earth's electromagnetic field, it has the ether in the Earth's immune system. There's a natural weight that it carries. Now, the way that Father designed the Earth is that it goes like this. All human beings in the Earth, so all human beings in the Earth, everywhere, and remember the Earth is an electromagnetic field, they would all operate in a state of joy. And that state of joy would give off positive shocks to the ether over and over again. And these positive shocks would echo all over the earth, affect everyone in a healthy way. And the natural weight of the earth will be in balance. Okay? And that was the responsibility and obligation of Adam and Eve, to manage the earth as a whole, starting from the Garden of Eden. However, because mankind fell, let me remove this for now. Because of the fall of man, now there is imbalance in the weight of the earth. Okay, and it goes like this. So again, this is the electromagnetic field of the earth. There's ether above. So now you have human beings in the earth. Those are all the dusters, all the human beings, human populations. But the majority of them, they bring forth negative tension out of the energy fields. So you have all these negative shocks hitting the ether, and the whole earth is weighed down with heavy tension. And all this heavy tension now affects other human beings on the earth. It affects the moon of people. It also affects the animals. The animals will be affected too by this toxic radiation. Oh, and by the way, now you know, before the fall of man, animals used to be friends with one another. After the fall of man, some animals became predators, other animals became prey. There was whole imbalance that was in nature also. All animals before the fall of man listened to Adam and Eve unconditionally as their master. After the fall of man, even some animals try to challenge human beings right now. And things, all this imbalance is actually causing the earth to crash. So let's say now this place is, let's say we take a place, let's say Japan. Let's say you have Japan right over here on the earth. Okay, this is Japan. I know it's a quick drawing, but this is Japan over here. And let's say the population of Japan is heavy. Let's say you have, let's go back to ancient times. Let's use an ancient example. Let's go back to, let's say, let me think of a good time period. The time when Jesus walked the earth, the first century AD. Let's say around that time, there were maybe 100,000, 150,000 people living in what today called Japan. It wasn't that populated yet at the time. But let's say those 150,000 people spread around. I mean, how can poverty exist? I mean, there's just 150,000 people on this large archipelago. But let's say 150,000 people are in a toxic mental, emotional state. You're going to have a lot of waste, a lot of negative shocks in the ether, echoing back, and it will all weigh down on that area of Japan. So eventually, you're going to have a lot of disruption in the animal kingdom happening, animals acting weird. You're also going to have weather patterns being affected in a negative way, not directly, but indirectly, the weather's going to be affected too. So this will lead to crop failure also. So now you have starvation going on. It can also, and this is the worst part, all the toxic tension all around and these toxic echoes is actually empowering evil spirits to feed off of it and be active over there. And this is going on a lot in ancient Japan. Till this day, Japan is a satanic society with deep-rooted Satanism. So the thing is, if this is going on, the people there are actually self-destructing and destroying the landmass with them. So, but what if now, they now, as a people, begin to focus their waste on specific people? So let's say now, you have, for example, in southern Japan, on Kyushu, there's a scapegoat ritual going on. Let's say you have a man that everyone, let's say 2,000 people now, focus their anger on one man. And this goes on for a while, with all these echoes hitting back on that man, of all the negative shock people emit towards the ether concerning him. That man will either die of an accident or of bodily dysfunction by diseases, sicknesses, or just someone will take on themselves to company enough to take him out. Or they need to death spells on him, and evil spirits will take him out on behalf of the people. And by doing that, now the people are purged from their waste. And now there's also less dark echoes coming back to haunt the land. Just note that the sin state of fallen mankind, it makes the earth sick too. And just like your physical body, when your body is sick, you get fever because your white blood cells and immune system begins to fight off the disease. The same is with the earth. If there's too much iniquity in a location on the earth, the ether will have an allergic reaction towards that place and just to uproot the danger towards the earth. So in that case, you have disruption in weather, in climate, a disruption in animal behavior also. And maybe you have a lot of bears that usually were just very friendly with the people. But now the bears are attacking each other and the people all the time. Or maybe you have cats and dogs always being very caught. The cats and dogs are always very anxious, eating one another, attacking the humans all over again. So the earth can become sick by iniquity. And that's not a good thing. What wizards have found out since ancient time is that when the earth develops, when all this tension develops on the earth of iniquity, they now can redirect that weight in such a way to exploit the masses. And this is how it works. Okay. Okay, let me draw a sword over here. Let's say there's a mountainous area. I have a town over here in the mountains. Okay. There's a town over here. Here I have another town a bit lower on the mountain. Okay. It's just the clouds back over here, the clouds. Okay. All right. Can you all see this, by the way? You know what? Let me draw it a bit bigger, y'all. It's way too little. Way too little. Mountainous area. There's a town over here. There's another town. And these are the clouds over here. For one moment. All right. You all can see this? Let me check in the live chat. Okay, it's a little bit dark, but you know what? It's the best I have for now. So there's one town over here, one town over there. Let's call this town 1, town A. Oh no, this is I can't use this one. Hold on, guys. Oh, here it is. Let's call this town A. This is town B. Okay. So again, let's say now in town A, let's say town A has 8,000 people living there. Yeah, 8,000 human souls. 8,000 people live there, approximately. Okay. And let's say from the 8,000 people live there, you have 5,000 of them who are in a state of negativity. Okay. Because the other 3,000 are likely either children or the actual believers. Now, you have continuous shocks hitting the above and hitting the ether. Ether is all the way above over here. And these shocks over here go up, go up, go up. And when the shocks hit the cloud deck, there's a mini echo going down up to 20 kilometers over there. So this generates a wasteful climate, a climate of heaviness around. And also here above, it causes an echo throughout the earth. Let's say now you have a guy here called James, and he's murmuring about his ex-wife who lives all the way in town B over here. Let's say town B is, let's say, 100 kilometers away. I don't know much this in miles, guys. I'm using kilometers over here, okay? Now, up until 10 kilometers this way, the next climate is intense. Then it becomes less. But you have an echo going around. Now, just like a cell phone, listen. Anytime you ring your mobile, anytime you dial a phone number in your mobile phone, every cell phone on the earth is hit with this echo. But only the phone with the code that you called will eventually echo back. And now there's a back and forth radiation going on, and now you have a phone call. That technology is used by using physical electricity and metals. Now, that's derived from the human being. Why? Because let's say now Jack over here is murmuring about his ex-wife Sarah, who lives all the way over here, 1 kilometer away. The moment he has this negative vibe in his mind towards his ex-wife Sarah, his brain will give off this radiation into the earth, and that radiation hits every brain on the earth. Okay, so every brain on the earth is hit by that radiation. Why? Because the shocks go up. If it's negative, it may take a little while for it hits the ether, but once it hits the ether, bang, it echoes all around. All over the earth, this resentment of Jack towards his ex-wife is picked up. But the only one that it will actually trigger physically is Sarah. So Sarah lives in her apartment right over here. We suddenly experience a trigger. So you have Jack over here, remembering, my God, what is bitch leave me? What she thinks she is? Oh, she will never find someone better, blah, blah. So that guy's going nuts in his head about his ex-wife, Sarah. Sarah isn't even thinking about the guy anymore. She's moved on with her life. But because he's now emitting this filthiness from his entity concerning her, again, hits the ether, echoes all over around. Every woman on the earth is hit by this echo, but because it's not aimed at them, they're not, their bodies and their energy fields are not triggered. Only Sarah out of the blue will now experience the next projection of Jack now on herself. As from a sacrifice, she should experience this heavy tension. Okay? And somewhere in the atmosphere over here, high up in the ether, you have a dark cloud that was formed by all this constant negative projection of Jack towards his ex-wife. So you have this dark cloud that emerged now, and now evil spirits will inhabit this cloud. And if Sarah has open doors in her life, unprocessed issues, or just wrong ways of thinking, now those same demons can now jump all the way to Sarah and hang around with her. So you have the ex-partner over here that emits this dark, this film into the ether. A dark tension emerged. We can say a dark cloud. Demons can jump in it, and the echo keeps hitting Sarah. And if Sarah doesn't counter it effectively, if she's receptive, now demons will be jumping from that dark cloud near the ether towards Sarah, back and forth. Okay? Up until now, is this all clear to you all? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. Is this all clear to you up until now? Let me know. I'll wait here to see the response. Okay. Now, so as long as Sarah is not successfully countering these next echoes that hit her, she'll continue to exert its effect on her. What if one day Sarah comes this with being in a state of joy, prayer, and fasting? What happens then is that the next echo that continues to rain towards her, it shoots back onto this dark cloud. If she's not fasting and prayer, the dark cloud will crash and fall on that location where the investors are. So let's say now you have 20 people murmuring, complaining, or having a negative view of Sarah all over here. Sarah countered these dark echoes, and now the dark cloud in the atoms, just below the ether, it begins to fall apart. All the heavy waves will fall down on the investors on their location. So let's say Sarah counters it right now. Suddenly one day she gets a phone call saying, Sarah, your ex-husband crashed with a car. He's in hospital now. Oh, Sarah, some of your friends from high school, they attempted suicide, or they just, some of them just had a stroke or whatever. And Sarah thinks, why are all these things happening? And Sarah doesn't see that, hold on a minute. In the past few months, I felt quite depressed out of the blue. I almost fainted over here. But since I began to work on myself, I began to improve over here, also in a spiritual way. Now that I'm not afflicted anymore by all these weird tensions, now suddenly my ex-partner almost died in a car accident. Some associates from the bus also get injured. She doesn't see that she countered the psychic violence. And now it falls back on the people. Now, that's how the psychic violence works. Now, but this is something wizards now will do. And it goes like this. Okay, let me remove this. Remove Sarah also. What wizards do is, when a population is generating all this waste around, they want to keep this waste in circulation without the ether getting overwhelmed with human toxicity. Because if humans keep overwhelming the ether like this, and the next echo is pressuring down, eventually it's going to be placed on the earth that's considered sick by the ether, and it's going to be a backlash from the ether on that location. And wizards wanna delay this. They can't prevent it completely, but want to delay it. Okay. So sometimes when people say, "Oh my God, God is sending us extra earthquakes and hurricanes because of our sins," well, no. Earthquakes and storms are natural phenomena that God installed also. The thing is, you can have an abnormal frequency of those things if a location on the earth is too sick by human energetic pollution. In that case, the ether will give shocks to the earth. It's to the content on the earth. There's the soil, the land masses, and the seas and oceans to do something about this sickness. You get me? In the case of Sodom and Gomorrah, God Himself intervened by nuking Sodom and Gomorrah with fire to get rid of it. Because if God wouldn't have done it, it would have caused a lot of natural disasters and a lot of harm on human species. Human species would even have survived. So just so you know, Sodom and Gomorrah were actually God Himself in person intervening. Normally, the ether itself gives shocks eventually to locations that are way too polluted by iniquity. So, because wizards don't want the ether to be overwhelmed by human wasteful emissions, but at the same time, wizards rely on these wasteful emissions for them to have the quote rule over a species. That's why the wizards came up with the following. Okay, I'm going to use town 2 as an example. Let's say in town 2, town 2 has 500,000 people. And let's say from the 500,000 people, you have 50,000 believers, only 10%. And from the front 50,000 unbelievers, 300 are actually in a state of negativity continuously. So you have 200,000 people emitting toxic waste regularly. Normally, this will continue to hit the ether, cause overwhelming amount of dark echoes. Eventually, this place is going to be so overheated, and the ether is going to figure out, okay, this place over here continuously is overheated with toxic waste, and then ether will give shocks over here and cause shocks to happen to deal with the issue. Now, this is a natural mechanism that God installed, and it's quite frightening. There's not even the Father Himself intervening, like in Sodom and Gomorrah or with the flood. It's actually the earth's intelligence itself giving a backlash. So to prevent this natural backlash from hitting that location and potentially causing people to all become delirious, lose their mind, and kill off one another, or to prevent some giant earthquake to tear the whole place apart, or some heavy rainfall to flood the place, or to prevent wild animals going crazy and killing off everybody. To prevent this backlash from the ether, wizards do the following. When there's a lot of tension nearby, wizards are installing the tension in the soil. So they install trauma. It's a trick wizards use. So in this case, let's say, okay, 500,000 people living there, 50,000 believers, and from 450,000 unbelievers, 300,000 are in a permanent state of emit negativity. So all negativity goes up, but here's the thing. If you have trauma installed in the ground, that will have a magnetic effect that will keep a lot of that will slow down the radiation into the ether. And with that, you can delay a backfire from the ether for maybe 20 or 30 years. You can't delay it indefinitely, but for 20 to 30 years, you can delay a backlash from the ether itself. So how do you install trauma in the earth? The way you do this is, and here's where FEMICIDE comes in. Women, okay, let me draw it again on the whiteboard. Okay, let me remove this. I hope you all can see me. Do I need to turn the lights on, guys? Yes or no? Let me know. Do I need to turn the lights on? If I need to turn the lights on, let me know that, please. Or let me see if this may work. Okay, but now I need to find a way to hang this. Okay, this tends to work better. My bad. Okay. Hold on, hold on, guys. Let me put this up here. Okay. So again, always not my shadow over here, but okay, great shadow out of the mind. So again, if human beings keep emitting this toxic waste into the atmosphere, into the ether, event the echoes that come back will be so many, the local place is going to be overloaded with a dark tension, and this listen to ether is going to be injured, quote unquote, because it's like a hotspot of negativity over there. Eventually, when the hotspot of negativity is so much, ether will have a shocking backlash hitting, and it will affect the weather, the animals, and even the psychological state of the people, and that place will self-destruct. So this backlash is bound to happen at some point. Wizards want to delay its impact with at least 2 to 30 years, so they can people continue to escape. And what wizards do is that by installing trauma in the soil of the ground, they keep a lot of the tension below the cloud level. And with that, they're also feeding more evil spirits to be active. So evil spirits now can actually be more active over there. So you install trauma in the soil, keep the demons now can feed off this atmosphere of negativity that's developed below the layer of the clouds in that area. And now you have a demonic infested place where everything appears fine, and key people now can use all these demons are present to have the charms work. So this is how you install trauma in the soil. Okay, let me draw a male and a female very quickly. Okay, this is a woman. It's not the best drawing, guys, but just please bear with me. Just spontaneously, okay? There's a woman over here. And it's a man, strong and buff, as a man should be. Okay. Now this feminine energy field, she like grabs a masculine energy field. And the masculine energy field has a blue flame in this, which is the sex drive or the life force of the man. Women who have a sex drive, the sexual urges, layers in the energy field. So women are energy sponges. They absorb. Men are fire magnets. Men are fire magnets. This is what men are. Now, because women are designed by them to have this sponge quality in absorbing energy waves in the earth, women are quite good at that. What wizards do is the following. You take a woman, so let's draw her over here. Let's say this is a victim they have in mind. This works the best if the woman is below age 25. It works the best when she's in her teens or younger. But to go after little girls often is going to feel too much. So they often go after teenage girls in their late teens or women in their early 20s. So ages, let's say ages 15, 16 till 25. That's the most common age range they use. What they do is, you have this woman who already has cracks in her energy field due to trauma. So energy field is completely damaged with all these dark spots. And because women's energy fields are built out of layers, if you trigger this woman to be in a stressed and sad state of mind over a period of more than 3 days, not only it affect her physical chemistry of her body, but her energy field will become heavier and heavier. And she will begin to absorb all the toxic waves around her. As a sponge, she becomes overladen all. And once this happens, and you're so heavily laden, now, out of the blue, in a violent, ritual way, you end her life. And when you end her life, the place where she's killed, that place on the soil, gets this intense whirlwind type structure. This whirlwind of negative energy is over there. And whirlwind later comes down, and whole place there is contaminated, or better said, accursed. And that accursed ground now, it keeps most of the heavy tension reaching the ether, so it delays the backlash from the ether. And now that this woman has been killed, I mean, remember, as a sponge, she absorbed a lot of negative tension. When she was overwhelmed with the negative tension, you take her life suddenly, and this shock of taking her life, the ground where that happens, there's a whirlwind negativity suddenly happening. It spins around, then it calms down, and the ground is accursed. And there, you have evil spirits gathering. They begin to reside over there. Evil spirits become more and more powerful. And now local witches and warlocks can use this hotspot of contention to get charms done. For example, in ancient times, they would take teenage girls in the late teens. Sometimes they would molest and harm these girls from the time they were little babies up to adulthood. That's what they did when they were worshiping this demon Belphegor, the toilet demon, but they did when they worship other demons too. They would take this woman who was already really traumatized, and then they would re-traumatize intensely, often in a sexual way, kill her at the spot, and the ground where she's killed, where her blood spills, the whirlwind negativity comes down after a few hours, then it's totally contaminated, and now they have evil spirits jumping all around over there, and that becomes a sacred place where they build an altar or a temple, and now you have pagans all over the place coming there to get charms from the quote-unquote gods. And they would make sure that from time to time, they keep killing women ritually over there in a sexually traumatizing way. And that's how they keep that part of the soil accursed. And all the heaviness remains below the layer of the clouds. So it slows it down from all reaching the ether, because the moment it's all reached the ether, it's going to be in that backlash. All right? So this is what femicide actually is. It's a satanic ritual to delay backlash from the ether on human beings' iniquity. So it's a societal thing that's been going on since ancient times. Now, can you do the same thing with a man? The problem is a man is a fire magnet. So if you abuse a man intensely, it can work in the man temporarily sucking up the negativity of the environment, but eventually that guy may explode. And if the guy gets delivered, oh my God, everyone has a problem. But then, because the woman is built as a sponge, it's more quote unquote safe to do this ritual sexual traumatization, eventually killing on a woman, and then make sure that her death pollute the bloodshed of her blood now pollutes that soil. Now you can use that area as a sacred place to build your temple, your whatever it is you're building, and now that can be the hotspot where people go to get charms, and you can build a marketplace around it to hide the fact it's actually a sacrificial site. Is this knowledge here clear to you now? Let me know in the live chat. So, understand this. Femicides, I'm not saying that there are no men out there who are disgusted by women and don't act out against women, but that exists, unfortunately. But a lot of these men are part of satanic cults. They're part of groups that come together, and under the lead of wizards. I already explained what wizards are in my previous live stream. Just watch those again, see what a wizard is. Under the lead of wizards, they collaborate with finding female victims they can do this with, and it's all meant to delay a backlash from the ether. Okay? Rashid, what would happen if this would stop? If this would stop, then all the iniquity and all the tension from the public will catch up with them, keep going to the ether, and in maybe 4 or 5 years, you have a harsh shock from the ether down, and there will be disaster happening over there. Then Father built the earth in such a way that anti-human beings go against their design long term, the earth itself will act against them and the environment. That's how God built the earth. So God himself doesn't even have to intervene, or often. The earth itself will give us shocks because things go wrong. And when the shocks from either hit the ground where the people are, or it affects the climate around them, it's a sign for people, okay, we've gone too far. We're out of balance. We're sticking in the earth. We need to be better right now. But often then Father does, sometimes then Father delays this, just give people time to repent. All right? But wizards, they do it their way by using female victims as energy sponges to curse the soil by installing trauma in the ground. And by doing that, they delay a potential backfire from the ether. And that's why I've placed on the earth where people are so sinful, so filthy in their lifestyle, so horrible towards one another, and still the place is calm. Why? Because you have hotspots that absorb and keep the next tension to below the cloud level. Those places often are haunted by a lot of evil spirits. That's the other side of it. But often they hide the haunting by a big decorum, like they built a huge amusement park, or they built luxury boulevards like doing Las Vegas. They kind of built a decorum around it to see like, wow, it's such a wonderful, exciting place. While in fact, it's a sacrificial burial site of female victims that wizards, together with their warlock collaborators, are ritually murdering just to make sure the public can continue their iniquity. Because as long as the public is in iniquity, there's negative tension, demons are empowered by that, and people that rely on charms now can go to those demons for the charm. Let's say now that you have a barbershop and you are a warlock and you use a charm on yourself and on the green demon feces yourself. You should also put green demon feces on top of your barbershop. The demons around are working your behalf, but the demons now have to be empowered because they're parasites. They don't have any strength for themselves. So demons get their strength out of the trauma that is installed in the ground. So even though you as a warlock, you're not in agreement with this femicide ritual, you'll still rely on it eventually, because without that, the demons cannot be easily functioning and work out your charm for you. So a lot of pagans are aware these type of things happen, but they're reluctant to address it because somewhere deep down inside they know if they fight against this, they're screwed. Some pagans do fight against it later on, don't we need to compromise somewhere, because how can we use our charms if the charms rely on the extension being around? All right? And that's why you shouldn't be involved in paganism, let alone Satanism. You should just serve them Father. So for all the pagans and Satanists out there, drop that green feces, y'all. Drop that stinking green feces off of your energy field and come to Christ. Let the blood of Christ cleanse you and receive the power of the Holy Spirit from within. That's what I encourage you all to do. All right. Is it clear now what the femicide ritual or what femicide actually is? Is it clear to you now? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. So, what do we do about this? Now, this will continue until Jesus Christ comes back, unfortunately, because fallen mankind wants to give up escaping. However, believers can counter this. So let's say in this city where this goes on, a lot of believers going to walk by faith. So now suddenly this structure is broken. But guess what? Because structure is broken now, the places where believers live are now covered by the anointing. Other places will still get the backlash from the ether at some point, except where believers are. You hear me? So if you live in New York City, for example, you're a believer walking by faith right now, your place, your location, your street where you live, your neighborhood is covered now by the anointing. Once the hit from the ether hits that place and things go wild, it will not hit your specific location, but it will hit all around you. So get ready for that. Okay? I haven't seen any YouTuber explain the spirit science of how trauma is installed in the soul of the earth through the ritual sexual abuse and murder of women. Well, I just did. Okay. Are there any questions about this topic? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. Are there any questions? God is good. Anyway, thanks for being here. Please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, comment on the channel. Please, everyone, hit the links below and donate the links below. Be generous. Thank you very much. It will really help me out to keep up this ministry. I would like to do this full-time next doing my PhD, please. So please help me to do this full-time besides my PhD so I can keep assisting you believers to go ahead. I want to do this full-time, not having to go to part-time jobs or to go to freelance shifts anymore. Please help me out. Donate the links below. Thank you very much. You can also book a session with me if you want. 200 euros for one individual. If you're from the military, in diplomacy or diplomat, or you're from the government, it's 500 euros. You can book, you can order anthropological investigation for $2,000 also. Apart from that, if you just want to donate freely with whatever you have, please do in the links below. You help me out very much. And I don't see there's any questions anymore over here. So again, thanks to you all for being here. Please, I know it's a lot of information. Replay the live stream, let it process, please process it, let it sink into you. And also, pray about this, and where stones applies in your life, apply this knowledge to glorify the Father any way you can. Well, that's it for now. Keep on creating Christ, and I'll see you in my next live stream.